All right, well, good morning, everyone. I guess I should get my camera going here. This is Mike Tabor, and thank you for joining me today for the Keystroke Live. Today we're going to be going over tax tables. A lot of people know a lot about tax tables, and there's some features we can show you today about what the tax tables can help you out with and what it's good for and the reporting of it and so forth. So I'm going to go ahead and mute the crowd here, and if anyone has any questions or needs or can't see anything that's going on, just please let me know using the chat box down below, and I'll go ahead and do that now. Great. Well, again, thanks. This is Keystroke Live. Today's topic is tax tables. As always, we go through and do our Keystroke Live every Wednesday. Just a note up front, next Wednesday we will not be having a Keystroke Live. It's the just the finish of the Dealer Summit that's happening this weekend. Well, a couple of things about tax tables. Just similar to price tables, which we went over last week, tax tables pretty much are grouped into three categories. There's the tables that relate to types of customers. Types of customers can be walk-in customers, they could be a resale customer, or a government agency. The taxing districts are pertaining to the taxing authorities. This could be something like your state of California tax, your city of Los Angeles tax, or other taxing authorities like your DOT tire tax, for instance, would be one. Also in the taxing authorities could be bottle deposits. For instance, if you're putting money into a fund to take in money for bottle deposits, that's kind of a quote-unquote a taxing authority in itself, and we'll go over that today too. Tax codes talk about the types of inventory items. There's taxable items in most places. There's non-taxable, usually food items. There's taxable items that are actually non-taxable for people that are buying them. For instance, students could be buying pencils that are taxable but get a break if they buy it through the school. Tax formulas. Tax formulas pretty much determine how you relate a person, a customer, a tax table, to an item. What does this person pay for that item? So that's what the formulas do. And tax formulas, different than price formulas. Price formulas always used to take the best price. Tax tables and tax formulas will actually be cumulative. They will add together. So the state of California tax may be added to the city of Los Angeles tax, which might be added to another tax like a tire tax. So there might be three taxes added together. Or a bottle deposit. That could be another tax added onto the standard tax. And tax formulas, as we said, are added together. The last thing to notice is that we use the date range to stop and start new tax rates or new tax formulas. We never want people to go in and just change the existing tax rate, as old transactions will have a tendency to want to change themselves when they're edited. So we always will stop on a certain date, like December 31st, and start a new tax formula, new rate, let's say on January 1st. Well, let me jump into Keystroke here, and we're going to go ahead and take a look at some of our sample data or tutor data. In this example, I'm using a current version, release version 715 build 77. We're going to first go just into Configuration Manager to take a look at how our sample data is set up, and what we do in there kind of helps us if we ever need hints in the future on how to set it up for our customers. So in Configuration Manager, under the Tables menu, we're going to go down to the Tax area, and my experience always says to start at the tables level. Sometimes if you're setting up lots of districts, meaning every city or county in the state of California, you might start there, so they're all available on the list. But most people just start with the basic tables, and we see customers here. In our sample data, we have a state and local tax. We've combined the state, in this case I'll call it Colorado, with the local, which would be, let's say, Summit County, into one district, And then we also have a bottle deposit example in our tutor data. So let's take a look here. So here we have two districts, and these are taxing authorities. We can actually break out the state/local into two different districts if people want to report on that or need to. And that might be the state of Colorado plus the local Summit County district in there. But maybe if I sell to people in Denver, that might be an Arapahoe County tax if I'm actually delivering it to their location. In this example, we've combined both of them together. It's a great way to start until you need more flexibility later on. Or think about it in upfront for the future of your customer when you're setting this up, if they're going to want to break out their tax reports by the different taxing authorities. So here's a case. We're going to hit enter on S in state and local, and we're going to see an example here of some tax rates. By the way, this is an important part about tax tables, is that the T taxable items, these are items that are tax codes for T taxable, have a certain rate. I'm going to hit F3 or enter on this to show you a little more. The tax code T taxable is used kind of throughout the program. We recommend you use T taxable for the most common taxable items in Keystroke. This allows Keystroke to show a percentage based on this one number. As you can imagine, with different customers with different items, they could buy 4 taxable items, 5 non-food items, a couple other items that are bottle deposits, and Keystroke isn't kind of keeping this running total and doesn't want to say, hey, your eventual tax was 6.837. People won't get that. So we just have this T taxable rate that kind of displays everything in a displayed format, although the actual calculations are always correct. I just wanted to show you here, this is a tax rate in our tutor that was set up, and it expired on 2/16/13. I'm not sure why we picked that date, but that's the date we picked. So this is actually an expired tax rate. So if I pulled up a transaction prior to this date, the tax rate would be 7.75. I'm going to hit escape, and down this list we'll see other tax codes like 1 for single bottles, 2 for 6 packs, 3 for 12 packs, and so forth. I'm going to go down a little further, and you'll see T taxable again. This here is what I call the current tax rate. I'm going to hit enter on it. And it is also T taxable items. They're being charged currently at 8.25% based on their price. They do start the day after the ending date of the previous tax rate, and they end in the future, in the year 2020. We'll go over these extra settings down at the bottom. There's good F1 help information on this, but we'll actually show some examples of some bottle deposits today. So looking in this, we also have some current tax rates here. Notice that the taxable single bottle, 6 packs, 12 packs, and 24 packs or cases all have the same rate of 8.25%. What we're saying is that if I sell an item that's got a 1 on it, a single bottle for instance, it gets charged by the state and local authority 8.25%. There's no discount on it or anything like that. But in addition to it, there'll be another taxing authority, we call it the bottle deposits, and it's going to be added to it. So I'm going to hit escape here and go back a step to our districts. We'll take a look here at our bottle deposits. We've set this up as an example. You can probably ask many dealers on the Yahoo group which they choose. Some people use tag-along items for bottle deposits. Some people use tax tables. This is just an example where tax tables could be used. It's not always a recommended way. You probably get half the people like it one way over the other. I'm going to hit enter on this district called B for bottle deposit. And notice inside this district there are 4 different tax formulas. These are for the different types of bottles. Notice T taxable items are not in here because we will assume that T taxable items, even though bottles are taxable, these items are actually different. They're taxed in addition to the regular tax. So as you can see, a single bottle will be taxed at 5 cents. That's 5 cents per bottle. A 6-pack will be 5 cents per bottle, or 30 cents. 12-pack, 60 cents. Case, 24. And you can go through this and blow it up into 30 packs, 18 packs, and so forth if you're like a liquor store, for instance. So let's go see how this would play out. I'm going to go show you, and then we'll come back and take a look at some more details. Before I get going here, I'm going to hit F3 or enter on one of these. And notice down in the bottom right, I am using this checkbox that says Allow Subtotal on Receipts. We have a good example of a receipt form that has the tax district loop, meaning it's going to break out sales tax and bottle deposits separately on a receipt. Many of our customers require that and ask for that, and Keystroke can do that. So we're going to go see how it works, and then we're going to come back and take a closer look here. I'm just hitting escape through these screens. By the way, I'm going to just show you under tables and print buttons. SM Sales, we have our receipt print button. I've used this form called Star Tax F, which is the tax loop, and the F means there's some form feeds in it for extra spacing. It's a great example of the 40 column with the tax district loop in it with additional line feeds. So let's go see how it all works. So I have just jumped into Sales Manager, and notice that our default tax table is S for state and local. If you had a customer that was exempt, you could hit Insert here, and on this one transaction, select Exempt. If the customer you have set up is always exempt or always out of state, we could set up their customers. But let's go ahead and just select the default, and we'll show you how the bottle deposits work, and then we'll go into exempt customers. So as you notice, the tax table is S, state and local. Notice down here at the bottom, it's looking, it shows the tax rate of 8.25%. It's looking at the current date, which is the 23rd of 2015 here. So it says, okay, your current rate for taxable items are 8.25%. If I give you an example here, this is a non-bottle. This is just a regular item. And let's say, for the sake of this discussion, they were $10 each, and I bought 10 of them. Notice the amount is $100. Down at the bottom, the tax rate, this 8.25%, is actually calculating at 8.25%. If I select, let me clear this line. We have some Pepsi singles, actually, Pepsi single here. These are $1 items. For the sake of this discussion, I'm going to do 100 here. This is another $100, but this is actually $100 of a taxable item that includes 100, pardon me, 100 5-cent ball deposits. So what you're seeing down at the bottom, even though this tax rate shows 8.25%, it's kind of obvious that it's actually charging 13.25%, but it's not. It's charging 8.25% plus $5 in bottle deposits. I'm going to go ahead and just tender this, just for, I like even numbers. It'll make more sense. Let's say we took exact change. I'm going to print a receipt. So I'm hoping you're able to see this picture here. This is a receipt to a receipt printer, just printing to the screen. If anyone can't see this, let me know. Notice here that the quantity is 100, $1 each for $100. Here's where we are using a special form that actually breaks out the tax. So the sales tax at 8.25% for $100 is $8.25. The CRV bottle deposit, that's actually our district name. And notice there's not a colon there. I can actually add a colon to the district name and make it kind of line up if I needed to. But anyhow, there's $5, which is actually 100 times 5 cents in bottle deposits. So here's an example where tax tables can be used with different districts to handle bottle deposits. Again, you can also use tag-along items with the advanced POS to do that, if you'd like. Now, let's do kind of a mix of both of these. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up that previous transaction. And now if I sell some regular items, kind of here's an example where I have the $100 worth of food, or actually, Pepsi, and there's a ball deposit. Another $100 of items that are T taxable, and they're not number 1 code. So we have $200, and so this 8.25% no longer really represents one or the other. It's not the 13%, it's not 8.25. It's a number that could drift. It could drift from 8.25 down to 0, or 8.25 up to a bigger number, like 13% in this example. So this is just a reference point down at the bottom for people to understand what the current tax rate for most items are. It's not a back calculated amount, so we get a lot of calls on that. Let's go ahead and tender this. I'm going to go ahead and just change this payment here. Fully tender it, and let's print a receipt again and take a look at what it looks like. So here we have a couple of items, and what we're really noticing is that the 8.25% is at being charged for $200. This receipt could include the actual tax rate if you'd like. You could actually put in parentheses sales tax 8.25% and then show that dollar amount. And then down here we could actually put in a percent. It would say 0.05, but it wouldn't say 0.05 times 100. You can imagine if you've got lots of different types of bottles, 6 packs, 12 packs, you're going to see things breaking out quite a bit differently and so forth. So this is a good example of how we can use tax tables for bottle deposits. So I think that's an important part. I'm going to go back a step and just show you how, if I were to change that transaction that I just saved, this is the transaction I just created, and I said, oh, I forgot to put a customer on here. I'm going to bounce around. I forgot it was supposed to be the auto parts center that I sell to, and notice when I taxable auto parts. If I selected the auto parts center with the tax table of out of state, notice that the taxes will now change. So keep in mind, people will go back and edit invoices and add customers later, and they may not add the exact correct tax table. So I'm going to go ahead and clear the sale and show this one more time. If I go ahead and pull up this sale, notice that the customer's name is Cash, and it was at S State and Local. If I pull up a different customer, like I just did, Auto Parts Center, notice that this invoice has already been pre-saved. It's been saved with the S State and Local tax rate, so it won't change on you. But if I were to reload the customer, I think I can hit F3 and F10. Actually, in this case, it's not happening, or I can change this manually. Nope, wrong button. Sorry. So now if I go back to this invoice, notice that the tax rate is 0% for all items. If I don't pay attention and just resave this invoice, not paying attention to the tax and not paying attention to the change, I'm going to have a problem. So if I pull up this invoice where I've changed the customer and changed their tax rate, and I go to the complete sales screen, you might find on the day of the invoice there's $221, but maybe 10 days later there's a change made payment. Change made we often see is for people that are tinkering with the taxes or the tax rates and things like that. So that's kind of a good example of tax tables. I'm going to go back to the tables and formulas and show you some more information in Configuration Manager here. So if we go back to tables and tax, notice I could set up different codes. These are the types of inventory items. I've only used taxable items. In this case, there's just bottle deposits and non-taxable items. We could have a DOT tax. We could call this DOT, which is a tire tax. I'll call it a DOT tire tax. And now I could set it up that maybe there's $1 or $5 per tire that you pay to the state for that. So I could go back to my state and local, and I could set up another district here by hitting the insert key, and I could call this a DOT district. And notice that the district names in version 7 are actually longer. They can hold up to 10 characters, so it makes it a lot easier. And here I could put in here that in this taxing authority, the DOT tire will be a $5 tax. And notice as I tab over to this little percent symbol, I can actually click on it and make it change. And notice when I change it to the dollar sign, it says this is a $5 tax per item. It automatically takes care of that for me. I could break this out onto a receipt showing the DOT tax as I sell tires. And let's just save this. Now here's what a common mistake might be. We have this DOT tax for tires, but they forget to put it under state and local. Notice that down here under state and local, pretty much everything I sell gets charged 8.25% regardless of what it is. I'm not selling food, so everything's taxable by the state. Notice that DOT is not on this list. To make this work correctly, I need to add DOT by hitting Insert to add a new formula. Insert again to select the DOT tire tax. Now this is not $5. This is $8.25%, meaning the state authority gets 8.25% for a tire sold, and the federal or DOT tax gets charged $5 in addition to this. And so I'm going to just hit F10 to save this. It's down here at the bottom now. Hit F10 to save that. And let's go back now. Notice, as you notice here, the state and local actually includes state and local authority, the B authority, which is bottle deposits, and the DOT taxing authority. Those are just different districts. I'm going to hit F10. If I go back to districts, you'll see the different types of districts that we have: state and local, DOT, and bottle deposit. So let's go do a transaction. I haven't created an item yet for a tire, but I can do that here. This is a state and local customer. They pay all the tax on everything. And hit insert twice and just call this tire, and let's say they're make it a good $100 tire. Make it easy for this. Now notice down here under the tax code, I need to tell Keystroke what type of item this tire is. It's not just a taxable item, but it actually has more to it. It's a DOT tire tax, and we'll hit F10. So here's a new item I've just added, and notice that the tax rate down here might look similar. Actually, I'm going to change this to a quantity of 4 for the fun of it. So down below here, what we have is 8.25% on $400 plus $20 extra in tax. Go back and just do a 1 here. So this is $8.25 in tax plus $5. And this one's going to kind of change as I buy more. It's going to kind of multiply that. So here I'm selling tires. I'm going to go ahead and just tender this with cash. And let's print a receipt and see how this prints. So now we have a receipt here that shows my regular sales tax is $33. That's $16.50 times 2, or $8.25 times 4. We have nothing for bottle deposits because I didn't sell any Pepsi or Coke while I was at the same time selling tires. And then I have my DOT authority, and that was the district name I gave it. Whatever you want to see it printed is what you want to actually change your name to as the district name. And if I wanted to, as a dealer, tidy this up a little bit for people, I can go change these names. So we'll come back to this exact receipt after I change the names and see that that's how that takes care of itself. So I'm going back to Configuration Manager, Tables, Tax, Tables. Actually, I'm just going to go right to Districts in this case. This is just going to be the districts, and we're going to change some names here. And maybe I'm going to call it DOT Tires. I'm going to put a colon in here to see how it looks when I actually save it. And the bottle deposit, maybe it's supposed to read something a little different in your state. It might need to be something like that, deposit. because it might not be a bottle, might be a can, might be a case of something. So I'm just changing the department name. This is what's going to show up on reports, but more importantly, when you use the tax district loop on a receipt, it'll go ahead and actually print it that way. So let's go back to Sales Manager. I'm going to just pull up that last saved transaction. I've done nothing to this transaction. I'm just going to reprint it. And now as I reprint it, I get my different text that I've actually put in. These are the district names. This one on the top is actually hard-coded in the form for every table that's not summarized. And if you need help on that, it's part of our standard form. It's easy to do. So notice here we have sales tax, $33, deposit, CRV, nothing, tires, nothing. Sorry, $20. So we could actually take that same transaction and sell some Pepsi cases. And here's a $10 case. And now let's take some more money because I sold more stuff, and let's print another receipt. So what we're seeing here is this allows us to break out more than one tax district. The regular sales tax for T taxable items was $33.83. The CRV was $1.20 for that case. The tires that I bought had an extra $20. That's $5 per tire. And everything's kind of working out well. So to summarize, kind of one of the things you can do is to use our star tax F form to break out different tax districts. You could also do that in, I know in Canada, they like to see the GST and the PST tax broken out. So taxes for them would be something like a GST tax. A PST tax is two different districts. Those are taxing authorities, and those can be broken out. There's also a chance that taxes can be taxed, meaning this DOT tire tax of $5 could be taxed by the state. Keystroke could handle that. Just want to show you a couple other parameters, and we'll probably be done with this session today. Back in Configuration Manager, under our tax tables, I'm just going to pick our state and local, which we've been working with, and look at this one here, the state and local. Now let's page down to one of these formulas. A couple other things we've added over the years, very rarely used here in the United States, but can be used in Canada, Europe, and so forth. Taxable by other formulas. That means that the other formulas can tax this tax, meaning like a DOT tire tax might be also charged local tax. A lot of people like to use the include in price, and notice that we round each item automatically. I just clicked this once and this happened. This is like a VAT tax. So sometimes if you buy something that's $24, but with the VAT tax on it, it's $30, and the price that you quoted is $30 out the door. If you're going to call something $30 out the door, you include both of these. You round up each item. They buy 5 of them. Keystroke will back calculate the tax for you. They'll put in the dollar amount as a lower amount, and then it'll make the total $30. So that's kind of there's more about this in the F1 help if you need to. The subtotal on receipts, that's actually what we've been working with here. And lastly, the always round up. This doesn't require the included in price, but always round up will always round up. This usually happens when you have very small dollar items. If you're selling a lot of 5 and 10 cent bubble gum, I don't even know if you can buy that anymore. The tax you might want to always round up. Keep in mind that tax laws in your state require that you pay the tax authority what you collected. So you can't always round up to the nearest. Keystroke does rounding automatically, and it works for every state. You never need to check this box. If you have this checked, you will be taxing people more than they should be, and you will actually be paying the tax man more money than you should be. So it's very rarely used, the always round up. All right, I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to go back to I'm going to unmute everybody and see if anybody else has some questions about tax tables. All right, I think everyone's unmuted. Does anyone have any questions for me about tax tables or any of the forms we looked at? Great. Well, thank you for your time. And we're going to be not having a Keystroke Live next week. Hope to see some of you at the Dealer Summit this weekend.